Hi everyone, hope you all are having a great time at the event. It is now time for our next exclusive session for track 2 of NexTech Southeast Asia HR Summit 2021 on the topic, a guide on how to build the perfect CIO-CHRO partnership. To meet the ever-evolving demands of the current business landscape, which can be central to both HR and IT domains, it has become imperative for the CIO-CHRO Alliance to act in perfect harmony. Reinventing one dynamic can upgrade business operations and workplace cultures like never before. While CHROs bring their expertise in talent management, acquisition, or retention, they also need to have a complete understanding of the digital transformation to add to their existing knowledge and competencies. The power couple, therefore, is building on each other's strengths to make this change happen and to foster a sustainable organizational culture. In this Q&A session, our speaker will share some remarkable insights on how organizations can build the powerful CIO-CHRO partnership to adapt to the needs of the reimagined high-tech, high-touch workplaces. And it is my pleasure to invite our speaker for this session, Sumit Puri, Chief Growth Officer at KEF Holdings UAE. Sumit is the Chief Growth Officer at KEF Holdings UAE and has 27 years of rich and diverse experience in IT leadership and management across varied industries and geographies. As a chief growth strategist and a leader with decades of experience, Sumit has successfully implemented several HR automation systems and processes for the greater benefit of organizations. So without any further delay, over to you, Sumit.
Thank you, Pratha. Thank you so much for the introduction. So clearly, I think you're absolutely right. It is, it's a very, very good power couple, partnership between CIO and CHRO. But I must say it's an uneasy dance. It's not easy, because the problem that we face is that, IT and digital transformation is still somewhat new, whereas functional, departments are there for many years, hundreds of years, whereas IT as a function is just about 30 years old and digital transformation is just about a decade old. There's a significant amount of communication requirement between the CIO and CHRO to enhance this partnership. And that's what sometimes is missing. And IT teams, IT leaders need to understand the language of business, need to start speaking, in a way that actually helps effectiveness of the organizations improve. So to me, that's what I would think is very important to create. And there's huge potential. There's no question.
Great, Sumit. Thank you so much. Okay, so my first question to you is, according to you, how are CIOs and CHROs, as I mentioned before, building on each other's strengths to fulfill the top organizational competencies in the current context of work?
Okay, so it's a mixed bag. I believe there is a lot of possibilities. As we all know, COVID has accelerated digital transformation. We keep on talking about the CIOs and CEOs somewhere driving digital transformation, but COVID has necessitated a change also in the consumer attitudes and the way we have started interacting and working. So to me, the intention here is to start exploring better ways, in which we can enable and facilitate employees, because work from home has become a reality. HR teams need to become a lot more flexible in the way we operate. And, IT has to facilitate that change, has to ensure that change happens seamlessly. So I would think, in today's times, there's a new normal. We all understand that, you will have, work from home as a important element. You will need to manage data security. You will need to ensure that productivity is not compromised. So there's a need to look at, these things very constructively, very collaboratively, work with the parameters of data security and ensure that the maximum productivity can be gained from the employees. So to me, there are interesting opportunities which the CIOs and CHROs, once they understand each other better, once they understand each other's challenges better, they can help craft and create a very, very I would say significant partnership which could benefit the organization.
Great, Sumit, definitely. So speaking of, employee well-being, which is definitely one of the top focus areas for companies currently. So how has this partnership, according to you, helped organizations prioritize this in a rapidly evolving and a complicated business environment? And how has this duo helped employees sail through the uncharted territory of technologies?
So, I mean, very clearly, employee well-being, mental health is absolutely critical, element of any organizational productivity. I think, we realize, we say 55% of the organizations, in fact, we even say beyond, you actually have employees using only their hands, not their hearts, when they work in organizations. They were mentioning that, there's sometimes you might even say that out of 11 people in a team, in a soccer team, maybe 2 are playing for the team and the others are basically scoring self goals. I mean, the functional silos are that bad. So I think the important thing here is to start aligning people, to common goals, to shared goals. And employee well-being, employee alignment is critical. Now, IT can play a key role. We talk about surveys, we talk about, ways in which we could basically enhance training, enhance interfunctional understanding. All these things can be done, and sometimes, if you're actually productive, actually able to create results, employees are pretty satisfied. It's not only monetary rewards, it's also non-monetary rewards that play an important role. So I think, as IT leaders, we need to create this culture of collaboration. We need to create, intranet, a portal for internal communication, where people can speak out freely. We can have surveys to sense and gauge well-being, to enhance the kind of specific initiatives that HR is taking for the well-being of employees. And to me, those are things that will really help us in moving the organization forward. So a lot of possibilities, like I said. Intention is to kind of enable this two-way communication, not a one-way communication, but getting people to engage with their hearts, not only with their hands and minds.
Definitely, Sumit. I think IT and HR both have a crucial role to play in enhancing employee well-being in the current world of work. So I agree with you, absolutely. So speaking of collaboration and speaking of remote talent management or building a culture of continuous learning and development in a hybrid work setup. So how do you think this CIO-CHRO partnership is helping organizations thread through the transformational challenges in the post-pandemic world?
I think it's evolving, and lots of new dynamics are emerging as such. If I look at my own case, when we started off this, when the pandemic started in mid-March, we had already, fortunately for us, had initiated, a kind of virtual working from home kind of, system and arrangement. So we actually had moved, a lot of our systems to the cloud, and you could work from anywhere, anytime, anywhere. That's what we wanted, because you want to make sure that customers are able to, be responded to quickly, even though the employees are on the move. Now, that's something which is going to become more and more, a reality as we go forward. You will need to have people who will be remotely working, who will be basically in different geographies, and they need to communicate and and kind of make sure that they're working on projects together. To me, there will be an interesting dynamic also of ensuring customer feedback is quickly facilitated and responded to, especially in healthcare. Because if you look at healthcare as such as a sector, we do have very demanding customers, because they are stressed when they come to a hospital. They are worried, and it's our job to make it easy for them. So if there's a request, a customer service excellence team, or and they're probably not in the hospital, you still want to engage and give the best response to the customer. I mean, I must say, important thing here is the timeliness of response, the accuracy, and the kind of empathy behind the response. Making sure that we are kind of able to address that need, which the person, which the customer is feeling, or his attendant is feeling. So this requires flexibility. This requires a lot of partnership between IT and HR teams. So I was, for example, mentioning that for us, we were trying to basically enable laptops and desktops on OPEX basis, on operational cost basis, on lease, rather than buying them, because many of the junior frontline employees also, you might need to give laptops, or what they can use from home, rather than having to come to the office. But you don't want to do that forever. You want to do it for a few months, so that you're able to still stay cost efficient. But these are new models which IT needs to craft and work with HR teams to enable virtual working. We also have to ensure security of data, make sure that is properly taken care of. So those are elements that will be very important. We've seen Zoom, the way it is actually zoomed in the world, how everybody is now on Zoom meetings or team meetings. It will become even more prominent. And I think it is the job of IT leaders to facilitate this change painlessly, for the organization.
Thank you so much for highlighting the elements that have come to the fore in the hybrid work setup, and the crucial role played by the CIO-CHRO partnership in this. And lastly, I would like to, although you've mentioned this before, but our audience would love to know again as to how will this successful collaboration between and CIOs and HR positively impact the entire employee life cycle in this new era of work?
I think to me, the big thing here is, IT embracing the concepts of customer adoption and in some ways design, because application design, because we have always been in some ways on the back end of things. We pretty much are looking at back end aspects, the database, the servers, all of that. Now we are moving more and more towards UI UX, user interface, user experience. These are more important things. So IT has to start understanding the importance of design. And that's what, when we look at it, ultimately it's all about adoption. The employees have to adopt, the doctors have to adopt, for us as such. So the most important thing here is to start realizing that you actually have a very good, maybe a startup ecosystem, which could be used to enhance your understanding of design and user experience aspects. You embrace them, understand from them, learn from them, and obviously you have a lot of strength on the back end, on the database, on the overall infrastructure and the systems. So we have to have a happy marriage. Trying understanding how do you get the design part element included, because ultimately it's about adoption. It's about people using the systems. It's not only the system or technology for technology's sake. It's about systems that are used, that are actually benefiting the organization. So I'll just give you an example. I remember about 10 years ago, I was with Prudential Corporation Asia, and I was leading their HR automation system, which was basically, we were trying to deploy a HRMS, HR management system. And we were looking at multiple systems, so Oracle, SAPs, PeopleSoft, PeopleStrong, many ERP applications. And there was also the system called Workday at that point of time. And I was part of a core team, about 13 people. We actually had to launch this in 13 countries in Prudential Asia. And I was part of the steering committee. So we had a fashion parade where all these systems were displayed. And, being typical IT, leaders, we kind of go with the Oracles and SAPs of the world. But because the HR team was so completely aligned to, let's say, Workday, primarily because of the user experience, the way it was, it was very, very powerful, very intuitive, very user-friendly. I found that to be very, interesting for myself, because I realized it's not about the back end and the security and only the kind of strength and robustness of the infrastructure. It is about the way users are going to use your IT system. So if people are comfortable with a cloud-based Workday system, and I'm talking about context, I'm not in any way disregarding the benefits that Oracle and SAP do for a moment, but for that particular context, you had Workday very, very useful. You actually found it to be most, ready to be adopted by HR teams, because they said, if you give me this, I won't even ask you for customizations. It already has what I need. Almost 98, 99% I already have. And we chose to, actually recommend this. So I was the only IT, leader, part of that steering committee, which was deploying these in 13 countries. We implemented Workday to huge success. We'd actually failed 3 times on HR management systems earlier. But this time it was done with full cooperation and support from the HR teams. And ultimately, it's all about that partnership. It's all about understanding each other's concerns and addressing them. And that's what IT leaders will need to do. They will have to focus on adoption. They'll have to focus and start talking the language of business.
Definitely, Sumit. It is not just about technology, but about adoption too.
Absolutely.
And enhancing user experience has become critical today.
Absolutely.
So yes, I definitely agree with you. Thank you so much for these amazing insights once again. And it was great. It was a great interaction. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And stay tuned for the amazing lineup of sessions waiting for you. Also, we have something truly magical waiting for you at the end of the event. So stay tuned and keep learning, and do share your insights with us in the chat box. Thank you.